All right, today we're diving into a book that makes a pretty bold claim. It says it holds the answers to maybe the single biggest question humanity has ever asked. We're talking about the Garuda Purana. And we're not just going to look at it as some old sacred text. No, think of it more like a guidebook, an ancient, detailed guidebook for the afterlife.
I mean, seriously, what happens after we die? You've probably wondered about it. I've wondered about it. It's a question that just hangs in the air for all of us, right? Well, what's fascinating is that for some cultures, it's not just a big blank mystery. They're not just guessing. So let's dig in and see how one of the world's oldest traditions actually tried to map out that unknown territory.
So, what exactly is the Garuda Purana? Well, in Hinduism, there are 18 major sacred texts called Puranas. And this one is different. It has this incredibly intense, laser-like focus on one thing: death, the journey of the soul, and the entire architecture of the afterlife. It's like a blueprint for what comes next.
Okay, so here's something really interesting about it. The power of this text isn't just in what it says, but when it's said. The reading is traditionally set aside for some of life's most profound moments. This is definitely not the kind of book you'd grab for some light reading on the beach, you know? Its purpose is way, way more significant. So tradition really points to three main times you'd engage with this text. First, right after someone has passed away, to act as a guide for their soul. Then there's during periods of remembrance, to connect with ancestors and bring them peace. And the third reason, that one's a bit more personal. It's for anyone who's on a quest for knowledge, trying to understand life's biggest questions for themselves.
Yeah, let's unpack that a little. When it's read for the 13 days right after a death, the belief is that it helps guide the soul on its really long, year-long journey to the court of Yama, the god of death. And at the same time, it's also teaching the grieving family about dharma, which is like the right way to live. Then, during ceremonies like Pitri Paksha, it's all about honoring ancestors. But that third reason, for personal knowledge, that's when the text becomes a kind of manual for how existence itself works. We're talking karma, rebirth, and the ultimate goal, moksha, which is liberation from that whole cycle.
But it's not just about when you read it, it's also about how. And this is a big deal. The sources are really clear on this. To actually absorb the wisdom in this text, your mindset and your surroundings have to be just right. They're not just important, they're absolutely crucial.
So what we're talking about is a really specific vibe. It needs to be serious, calm, totally focused. Reading this during a party or some other happy occasion? Absolutely not. It's considered completely inappropriate. And when you think about it, that makes total sense, right? I mean, the content it's unflinching. It lays out the soul's tough journey, all the obstacles, even these terrifyingly detailed punishments in different hells for very specific sins, but also the incredible rewards in heaven for living a good life. You can see why it demands a certain level of seriousness to even approach it.
And all of this leads to a really key point. The rituals, they're important for sure, but think of them as the key to the door. Once you open that door, you realize that at its heart, the Garuda Purana isn't just about ceremony. It's this deep, philosophical text that comes from that same quest for answers that we all have.
Yeah, its whole purpose, really, is to teach the truth of death and the rules of dharma. So it's got this dual mission, if you think about it. First, it tries to take away the fear by just laying out the truth of death as a process, something natural. And second, it gives you the rules of dharma, basically a moral compass to help you live a life that results in a peaceful journey when the time comes.
And that's why, at the end of the day, this text really goes beyond just one cultural context. It's fundamentally open to anyone, anywhere on the planet who's wrestling with those huge, timeless questions. What's the point of what I do? What happens after all this is over? And is there a way to find true freedom from it all?
Which kind of brings us full circle, doesn't it? We start by looking at the afterlife, and it leads us right back to our lives, right here, right now. So if this ancient text really is a map for what happens after we die, maybe the most powerful thing it does is ask us a question about today. What can a map of the afterlife possibly teach us about how to live?